With the yo-ho-ho, it's Tale of the Toaster. Welcome. Well, I suppose not really. Inazuma 11.3 is already finished. But with that project done, oh man, I miss it so much. It was great fun to work on. One of the most fun things about doing the series was actually making the thumbnails. I really loved doing that, yet you as the viewers don't really get to see them as up and close, as personal as I do when I'm making them. So I thought, as a nice little celebration for the end of the project, I'd take you through them one by one. Starting with the very first one, but can't say I'm a huge fan of this because I did notice that when you're watching any episode of the Let's Play with my border at full screen, Bash Lancer doesn't look like the best resolution, but there's just not much imagery of this game to work with, man. But had to go with something normal for the start. And then episode 2 we move on to. This is a good one to see at full screen, whereas you don't get as much of a kick out of it at smaller screen, but this actually used to look a lot worse, because what I'm going to put on screen for you, this is what the thumbnail looked like when I first uploaded it. And that's because I print screened the screenshot of this cutscene within the game, and that's the resolution the 3DS shows it at. Whereas then, when I dove into an official trailer for the game, I had the brainwave, screenshotted it from there instead, and now it looks like this again. So that's a nice story. I'll be sure to go over that whenever it happens again. And then part 3, gosh, that amazed me with how we'd only just started the game and there's so much happening, but there was nothing in particular to take a picture of until eventually a cutscene aired at the very end and Nelly went off on holiday. But man, I needed to give that logo more of an outline. I kind of messed up the logo for most of the series, to be honest. I was supposed to give it a white outline and drop shadow, but I only realised that when it was far too late to change everything. So then episode 4, that took the most work out of the lot of them, because Jude and Mark, I had to take screenshots of them within a different frames of a cutscene and then crop them out and put them on. But I wanted to make sure the part 4, we're still early in the series, and it's the Inazuma national selection match. That needed to be eye-catching. The actual verses in the center, that's taken from the multiplayer of the game. It might have been taken from Inazuma 11.2, so I think there's probably a different verses for 3 now, but we'll see that towards the end of the video because I did make a multiplayer one. And then part 5, the one where you're actually selecting the members, and although most of you viewers already knew who the team was going to be, I definitely did have some subscribers on this channel who watched the previous Inazuma 11 Let's Plays and they were new to the series. For example, Daniel Philpott, Gangu Eevee, Turnabout Randon. I didn't see so many newcomers to the series with this particular Let's Play, but nonetheless, I covered everybody up to make it a surprise, except for Mark, and you can kind of tell Jack's there, but I've obscured him enough. So that was an example of a funny one, maybe. And part 6, that's just one of the worst in the series, but you know, it was about Coach Travis. It was his debut episode, so I had to make a Coach Travis thumbnail, and this was the only decent screenshot of him within the trailers for this game, whereas in the not trailer version of the thumbnail, it was a slightly better picture, but much worse quality, so it was worth changing overall. Then part 7, who remembers this match? Even while doing the thumbnail review episode, I still forget that the All Girls All Stars was a match, but it was part 7 of the whole series, and you know, there's not much more I could have done to that. The logo for Inazuma 3 looks kind of stretched now. Ew, get it away from me. Oh, now this has a story to it. This was the Hokkaido episode, and this image is actually my logon image for my laptop. So like when I boot up my laptop and put in my username, it's just this really nice picture of Sean Frost getting hugged by its team. I said it years ago, long before I did this Let's Play, and I was a big Sean Frost guy at the time, and yeah, that's a really nice positive image to just open your laptop with, and it had to be a thumbnail. And then, yeah, part 9. So this was the first time I used this kind of image as a thumbnail, where it wasn't from a cutscene, it was just a piece of artwork that appears on the bottom screen. And so, with the resolution you're looking at it right now, it's not going to look particularly good, but at thumbnail size, it looks fine, and there was nothing else to pull from in that episode. Then part 10. So this is the first example of me taking a screenshot of a cutscene which isn't in the trailer, and unfortunately it's had to keep that low resolution, but nonetheless it still looks decent at thumbnail size. And the thumbnail's kind of misleading, really. It is a cutscene that was in the episode, but only within like the first 4 minutes, and then the rest of it was just tournament match mode. But I wasn't going to sell an episode on that premise, not until the after game anyway. Why did the big waves have to be part 11? It's always a series tradition of mine for part 11 to just make it the Inazuma 11 logo, but with the word part obnoxiously stuck over the word Inazuma. It's the most obvious joke in the world, and I really hammed it up in the previous 2 Let's Plays, but this time I couldn't really do it because Big Waves was an actual important episode with a really good image to go in the background as well. So this was the compromise. I wish I had a way to pad out time and make this part 12 instead of part something else. And then also the Dark Angels wouldn't have been part 69, but you know, we make do. Part 12, this was so easy to make. All I had to do was Google Toromaru from the Ogre movie, and then I just got this perfect image which completely summarizes the episode. It was one about, you know, Austin delivering food on his mum's behalf, and then it just so happens the Team Ogre Attacks movie has this really wonderful image of Austin delivering food in a really proud and posy way. So sometimes you don't need to try hard. When there's an image that good, you can just roll with. And then oh, the otaku goalkeeper. He always finds a way to make it into a thumbnail. Like, I use that particular image on purpose because the episode of Inazuma 11 2, where I unlock the shopping area, had this guy in the thumbnail, and because people don't know how to unlock the shopping area in Inazuma 11 2, that is one of the most viewed episodes of the Let's Play. So I thought, well, if I'm doing that same kind of thing here, better use the trick that worked last time, right? Let's get the coat, let's get the goalkeeper back in the thumbnail. I don't think it worked quite as well this time. Oh man. Now this was when, you know what, the very first Inazuma 11 Let's Play has tons of memes in the thumbnail because I left that job to Ace 2 Shoes. I don't tend to make as many, but when part 14 was a 12-minute episode purely about Jordan Greenway, my favourite character in the original arc, it was about time I really went all out and actually made a meme for once, and the classic do it for him, do it for my favourite character. Oh, this thumbnail was a lot of fun, as was the episode, just not so much for you guys because it was only 12 minutes long. Oh, this looks nice. Like, it's another example of why would you use anything else when this screenshot exists. All I had to do was Google the Desert Lions, but when you've got an image that good, you're gonna use it, aren't you? Then part 16, that was I remember recording this episode and thinking, I don't know what I'm gonna do for a thumbnail for this one, because it was just about Archer Hawkins doing a bit of training, probably a bit of Austin Hobbs worrying about his mum, but yeah, then I just had a quick look online, and if it's an Archer Hawkins centric episode, then this is a pretty good Archer Hawkins image, and I was able to get the game's logo nice and big for once, so fair enough. Part 17, so this was kind of something that sparked a bit of a trend that I made a difference with. Whenever I made a thumbnail for a team in Inazuma 11 2, I tried to get an image which had pretty much the whole team in it, and then I also tried to make sure the numbers didn't cover anybody up, because I wanted to not obscure anything. But this neo-national thumbnail, it gets the job done, but the 17 is in such an awkward place when really it wouldn't hurt that much to just stick it over the top of the guy on the top right. Nobody's really gonna miss him, but eventually, because that became such a common issue in the last Let's Play and now here again, it's now more kind of my trend. You'll see with examples like Brazil and Italy that for the big teams, I more just base the thumbnail around the team captain, and other characters are lucky to get involved. But this was a kind of old style one. And then we get to the jokier ones. This episode was actually exploring Kyoto, and any good images of Kyoto I had already used in the Inazuma 11-2 Let's Play. I couldn't use them again. This was the episode where I recruited Isaac Glass, so just make that. It worked ish. Oh, part 19. I really like this one. I just, especially when it's at thumbnail size, it doesn't look as good when it's scaled up here because obviously it's a screenshot of a 3DS resolution cutscene. But this was the episode where Mark first found out about his granddad possibly being alive, and it plays this wonderful cutscene of just a sketch-drawn Dave Evans starting to look in the direction of the camera, and that's one of my favourite looking cutscenes in the game, and absolutely it looks great as a thumbnail, if you don't mind me saying so. You know, I'm not really crediting myself, I'm crediting the person who animated the cutscene. And part 20, so you remember maybe with part 9 how that was the last instance of me using just an image that was on the bottom screen. The one with Mark, Axel and Jude pointing up into the sky. And the problem with those is that obviously the bottom screen of a 3DS is not widescreen. With the past example, I was able to zoom into it without losing anything, but here, if I zoomed in at all, I was going to lose something important. So instead, I just kind of put this... I'm not the best at Photoshop, but I tried my best to put a mud kind of effect on the right. Left a blank space for the, the length of the video thing that's always getting in my way on the bottom right. It's a good image. It doesn't make for the best thumbnail because of the size, but hey, I would struggle to make something much better. And so part 21, this one took a lot of work because I really wanted after learning my lesson with Neo National, I wasn't just going to go with an image of the entire Fire Dragon as a whole. So I wanted to base it around Chaos Break and the 3 most important characters, but you wouldn't believe how hard it is to actually get an image of all 3 of them on screen at the same time, and the only time they are on screen at the same time, there's the big Japanese text of the name of the move, and they're just tiny little splodges at the top of the screen. So I had to separately take pictures of 3 different scenes and then manually crop out the players to put them into this little hodgepodge, which looks okay, but my Photoshop does something really weird that it didn't used to do like a year ago. But you can see that when I've used the pen tool to select Torch on the right, once I've selected him and copied him onto a new layer, it's given him this really weird glowy effect. And I've found a way around this now. The pen tool still does that for me, but instead I just use the lasso tool to crop everything out. But it's kind of noticeable with Gazelle as well, and really this could do with a redo to get rid of that glow, but I kind of passed it off and said it was alright because he's in the presence of a god anyway, he's allowed to be glowy. And then, to make up for that really time-consuming thumbnail, episode 22 was easy. This was just a screenshot from the anime. It's even got the watermark on top of Gazelle's face, but nobody was going to see that at thumbnail size. I don't really like this one. I was kind of thinking at the time, the actual members of Inazuma Japan haven't been in the thumbnails very much. so I thought it was excusable for Mark to be such a central role in this thumbnail, but now Inazuma National definitely have had their chances to be in the thumbnails, so I didn't really like this one too much. I did want to get Changsu Choi in there because he wasn't in the last one. That was important and Nicole, but I guess it's okay. This one's not. But this one used to be even worse. I'm going to show you the original version of this thumbnail, and oh, I was genuinely in a rush. Like, I had no ideas for this thumbnail anyway. It has this one cutscene in it where Sean Frost on his crutches sends off the team, and then you set off for Leocott Island, and this was the rant episode where I was salty about Jordan getting kicked off. And then I found that they actually included that in the trailer for the game, so I was at least able to upgrade the thumbnail in that respect. It's not low quality anymore, it's just a really uninspiring screenshot of Sean Frost on crutches, and then to try and give it a bit more personality, I put injured Jordan in there, but the colour contrast is so sharp. It does not work at all. This is one of the worst thumbnails in the series, but there's no point in changing it now, is there? And then this one looks a lot nicer. Again, it would be so good if I could get the high definition cutscene out of a trailer instead of screenshotting it from the 3DS, but it's Welcome to Leocott with a really excited Mark. This is one of his first appearances on a thumbnail, to be honest. I really didn't give him many chances. And there's a little Easter egg to the right of Mark's hair. I cut out this. Once I saw Hurley Kane's face when he's on the plane, that is the face he pulls when he's on an aeroplane, and that is too funny. So even if it was completely invisible in the actual thumbnail, I still had to put it in there just for my own knowledge, and now you've seen it too, so great. This is probably the single worst thumbnail in the series, because this is the one where I go to Okinawa, and again, any good imagery of Okinawa has already been used in the Inazuma 2 Let's Play, so I just wanted to find any good image of the cast in a beach kind of setting, and this was the one I decided to go with. It's not even Okinawa, to be quite honest with you. I think it's just the beach in Leocott, and it's I definitely had a few comments saying, "Whoa, Tail, NSF woo, shirtless lads," and yeah, I don't like this one, but I still took a long time to settle upon it. I tried and tried to think of a good thumbnail, but one just didn't come to me, so this one stuck. You notice how it's not even the right dimensions? It's been stretched sideways, so Austin Hobbs is the wrong head shape. Nah, we're getting off this one. This one was much better, and is probably the one I've spent the most time on out of all of them, because the commentators, the firework display, the two, festival dancers, they were all screenshotted from separate cutscenes. And I did it twice, because this is yet another example of using the trailer to make it higher definition. So I had to make this from scratch on 2 occasions, and it took forever on both occasions. But I think the end result was really worth it, because you would never remember these 2 festival dancers if I didn't put them in a thumbnail, but they're in there fully drawn, and so it's nice to see them. I guess it's a little bit NSF woo, just like the last one, but if it's in the game, it can be in a thumbnail. Nice to give the commentators a shout as well. And so episode 27, I normally try to keep things out of the bottom right of the screen because YouTube covers it up with the length of the video, but when it's something like a stunned Jack, it doesn't really matter if it gets covered up. That's part of the joke. It's a nice picture of England, and I did show off all 3 girls going on a date with Mark, so this should tell you that story. Part 28, I had 2 very strong options for this thumbnail. The one you're looking at right now was the original design for the thumbnail, which, was quite pretty and happy, makes sense, but then I just had to go with this because it's just that little bit funnier, and I actually went on the onto Discord to ask a few people which thumbnail is better, this one or this one, and nearly unanimously they went for the more comedic angle. So that's the one I went with. So this one is also like the fireworks display in the sense that I had to make it from scratch twice, because this is the original version, and you know, the quality of the boat never changes. I never got to take that properly, but I had to cut out Darren and Celia and Jude and Sylvia and Thor and Hurley and all of them by hand twice. But I think the end result was worth it, because obviously this is a very important episode of the Let's Play. This was the one with the full Rari workout in the series. It's somehow still one of the least viewed episodes of the series, despite having the full Rari workout and this admittedly quite nice thumbnail. But for my purposes, this is a good thumbnail and a good episode, and at least I know that. So again, with the whole logic behind, you could have a poorly displayed image of the entire team of Knights of Queen, or we could go for just the captain and go for the more stylish look. This one still isn't the best exactly, but at least it's quite clear in what it's going for. And so now we get into 3 in a row, and all of these thumbnails are going to be quite similar. And as a result, they're some of the least viewed episodes of the series, because it was hard to tell them apart. But I think they all look nice, and I didn't want to make them look particularly different, because it would have meant sacrificing these thumbnails that I think look quite nice. Starting with Jude getting terrified by Ray Dark, and then I've put in an angry Stonewall as well. Then this one is middle of the road because it's low quality game cutscene, but it's what it needs to be. It's the Italian team getting threatened by Ray Dark. There's nothing more appropriate. Then the next one is probably my favourite of the thumbnails I did, and that would be this one, 33. This was when I started messing with the formula. I'm like, okay, so the logo and the number has looked exactly the same in every thumbnail, but this one takes a really nice moment from the anime where Jude's just, his mind is surrounded by monochrome Ray Darks, and he can't cope with this idea that Ray Dark is alive and coaching Italy, and he's just running from his past, but he can't. And so this is 2 separate images. I took one image of the monochrome Ray Darks and then a different image of terrified Jude and photoshopped that on there, and then rolled with the whole white outlines for the text and the logo, and I was really happy with this one. And then, just like Anchors Away, it turned out to be one of the least viewed, but whenever I go on my channel, I'm always happy to see this one among the videos. And then we've kind of got another Jude one in a row. It's got his cape in the bottom right. This is, of course, Demonio Strada, Giulio Acuto of Team D, and I toyed with a few images of Team D as a whole, but there just weren't any good pictures of the overall team, or indeed that many good pictures of Giulio, but this one was good enough, got the job done. 35. Okay, so this is not the greatest, but that's because it's not the greatest episode. It was only 14 minutes long, and all I did was go through Turtle Island, I think it was, and obviously while Mark and Jude, etc. are off the team, Nathan becomes the team captain, so that's the angle I wanted to go for. This is Nathan putting on his captain's band, but there was just no room for the 35 man, or really any room for creativity with it, but the idea was there. Then I think this is when I really started to hit my stride with the actual match thumbnails. You know, I've gone to the effort of cropping out the Argentinian captain Thiago Torres and put it on top of his signature move, Iron Wall. It's not the highest quality Iron Wall, but you can't tell at native resolution. Nice and big number, nice and big logo. I was very happy with this one. And then this one, oh, it makes me laugh. Poor Todd. This is the episode where he gets kicked off the team. So the episode where Sean and Jordan get kicked off the team, they get a crap thumbnail. But for Todd's departure, he gets the full lot. He gets the whole team waving him off, him crying about it. This is another one of my favourites. There's nothing more I could have done with this one, apart from fix the outline on the logo, which is triggering me with every new thumbnail that I look at. Right. So you'll remember that this summer I worked on a summer camp with children aged 7 to 10, and I wrote my name on the whiteboard so that they'd all subscribe to my channel in a shameless tactic that actually helped me reach 2,000 subscribers. And all was going well. I was really happy with that thought. And then within my favourite episode of the series, this one, the episode where I find and recruit Pants, oh, it was a joy to record, and I'm really glad that Pants was actually a good player. But I said within the episode, if it's called Pants, it's got to have a really clickbaity Alpharad style thumbnail, how to remove pants. And if I actually said it in the video, I had to live up to it, and I made it, and I made it as clickbaity as possible. That woman that you see there is actually the real person that Pants is based off, because she was a competition winner that got to have herself put in the Inazuma 11 games for winning the contest. Some other people won it as well, but this was the girl that turned into Pants, who I appreciate because she made a great character. But yeah, I had to make how to remove pants as a thumbnail, but then I realized, oh no, I've been promoting my YouTube channel to all these 7 to 10-year-old children, and then this is gonna pop up in their subscription feed. And that was the day that I stopped plugging my channel. Still, it's got everything it needed. It got the red arrow, it got the magnifying glass, it's got the differing text, Bobby looking surprised, because this is supposed to be a Bobby episode before Pants invades it. It even covers up the logo, because, you know, we've got no room for that. It's a good laugh as long as it doesn't make the kids unsubscribe. Speaking of making the kids unsubscribe, we go straight into Utter Gutsina's Catch, and this was the episode where I explored Fuji Forest, and I've already had a Fuji Forest episode in the previous game, so I had to make it different. And then what do you know? My favourite goalkeeping move, the Utter Gutsina's Catch, was just used by a character within the episode, so it can be the thumbnail. It looks striking, hilarious. It's still my favourite move in Inazuma 11, to be honest.